Declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest of the board? I see none. Minutes of the previous meeting, item number 194. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Member Stewart, Member McKendrick. Any comments or questions on the previous minutes? I see none. All those in favor? Carried. Reports from the board chairperson. So before we begin the public meeting, I'd like to remind everyone, like I always do in attendance, that the Police Service Board meeting is being live streamed and the video recording of today's meeting will be posted on the board's YouTube channel. And like we started a month ago, a tribute to Indigenous lands. In keeping with the board's new practice of acknowledging the land on which we gather when holding board meetings here at police headquarters, I'll begin today's meeting by acknowledging that this land is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and this acknowledgement reminds us that the great standard of living that we enjoy in Niagara is directly related to the resources and friendships of the Indigenous people who make up our community. So the first item on my report is NRPS Business Plan Working Session. On November 13th, Member Stewart attended the Services Business Plan Working Group session in his role as Chair of the Board's Business Plan Committee. The working group sessions will be ongoing and include analysis of the NRPS telephone survey that was conducted during the month of October. The survey results will assist in measuring the perception of police effectiveness, the sense of safeness in the community, the importance of existing community programs, and future policing priorities. Upcoming meetings have been scheduled for November 28th and December 14th, and Committee Chair Stewart will continue to represent the board at these meetings. Do you have any further comments at all? Good enough. Okay. Next, the OAPSB Zone 4 meeting. On November 15th, Vice Chair Ganzel, Members Bonham, and Member Stewart, and the board's Executive Director attended the Ontario Association of Police Services Boards and the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Zone 4 quarterly meeting held at the Halton Regional Police Service. And I know Vice Chair Ganzel has some comments.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I find these actually very helpful to, at least for sort of a golden horseshoe here, to sort of get an indication of what other services are working on. And there was one project I think that is important to us, and that deals with the movement in 2022 and 2023 to a new 911 system referred to as NG 911 or Next Generation 911. There was a very high-level presentation put on by Halton dealing with that and their sort of roadmap. Well, one of the things that's important for us as a PSAP, or a public safety answering point, which Niagara is on behalf of the Niagara region, as of December 31st of this year, we need a roadmap and a technical plan in place as to how we are going to move our existing 911 system to NG 911. So I would not expect to bring this up directly now and say to the chief, how's your report, but at least some indication as to whether we're on target and will there's something be coming to us prior to the end of this year. That's the only importance here.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm going to turn to Deputy Forty, who oversees the communications unit, for a response to that.
Thank you, Chief, and through you, Chair, to the Vice Chair. Director Escool and I have had discussions with respect to these matters. There's a conference December 2nd, 3rd, 4th, where this is front and center, and we have had discussions with, I'm going to call him Nish, the deputy that probably presented to you at the Zone 4 meeting. It's a live issue for police agencies across the country as we look to enhance the public's ability to report information through 911, beyond verbal, of course.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I think the important thing is at least we're on top of it and our plans are moving forward, and that's, from a board perspective, that gives us a certain comfort level, and obviously we'll be addressing the newer technology so the public has an easier way of, or different ways, I should say, of communicating emergency situations to police, fire, and ambulance services. So again, thank you for the update.
And Members Stewart and Bonham, if you have any comments to that meeting, I'll open it up to you. Okay. Next is the Soup Kitchen Luncheon. On November 19th, Vice Chair Ganzel, board staff, and I joined Chief McCullough and Deputy Chief Flynn and other service members of the Niagara Falls Community Outreach Soup Kitchen. We assisted with the preparation and serving of lunch to over 120 people. The Soup Kitchen serves over 40,000 meals a year and provides daily nutrition to the communities less fortunate. I know the Chief is going to expand on it in his comments, so I'll move on from there. Next, the Police Records Check Information Educational Session. This week, on November 20th, the service hosted an information session on the new Police Records Checks Reform Bill 113 that came into effect on November 1st. The session was held to educate members of the community and local agencies about the changes that are happening to the police record check process in response to the new legislation. Members McKendrick, Stewart, and I attended the meeting on behalf of the board, and Gary Holden did a bang-up job from Records Chief, as well as you know, they were lined up to the door on this. We had to have 2 different sessions for it, where we thought there'd only be 10 to 50 people there. I would guess there was 150 people showed up, and this room can only hold 120, so the people were pretty cooperative because we couldn't go over the amount of people in one room, but the turnout was fantastic for it. And again, I say that was very informative. The biggest question I had, and I know I brought it to the board, was people were asking, why can't a person come in for one vulnerable sector check if they're playing, if they're working in soccer, baseball, Big Brothers and that, why can't they just have one check and give it out to everybody? And I guess these are specific to the different organizations. If you're wrong word. If you're working with kids, or you're working with adults, or you're handicapped people, or whatever, that's why you can only have one type of check done for each organization. And he explained everything very well. So if anybody's watching this that was there and still has questions, because we had to cut it short because we had 2 different sessions, they can email to the Chief's office, to the board's office, or if they have Gary Holden's email, they can send him emails on any of these questions on it. Moving on from that, we have the CAPG webinar session. On November 29th, members McKendrick and Stewart and board staff will be participating in the CAPG webinar on the economics of policing, complexity and costs in Canada. The webinars are offered on a monthly basis as an educational resource to keep boards and police executives apprised of issues currently impacting the police community. Next, the Kristen French CACN Holiday Appreciation Event. On December 5th, the Kristen French Advocacy Center in Niagara will be hosting its annual Holiday Appreciation Event being held at George's Greek Village in St. Catharines. The event will honor the organization's numerous donors, volunteers, board members, and partners. Vice Chair Ganzel and Member Stewart will be attending the event on behalf of the board. Either of you wish to comment? I just open it up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, just and always a chance to thank that organization for what they do for young people. And a former educator that I am, really appreciate that. To make a bad situation as good as you can make it for people who've been abused, witnessed abuse, and everything like that. And I'm really pleased that they're partners with our police service. They provide invaluable service as far as serving victims of crimes and all of that. And I think it's just terrific that we have these community partnerships that help us do our job better than we could do it without them. So I think that's just terrific. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you. Next, the Chief's Christmas Breakfast on December 6th from 8 till 10 a.m. The Niagara Regional Police Service will be hosting its annual Chief's Christmas Breakfast in the community room here at Police Headquarters, and I know the Chief is going to expand on it with his talk. Upcoming PSB meetings, there are no committee meetings scheduled during the month of December. The next board meeting will be Thursday, December 13th at 8:30 a.m. in the community room at Police Headquarters right here. So next, reports from the Chief of Police. Sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make the board aware of an SIU case closure that we had. You'll recall during the early morning hours of September the 7th, 2017, there were 2 males that stole a pickup truck and a trailer combination containing a lawn maintenance equipment from a Niagara Falls residence. The vehicle was later observed traveling in a dangerous and erratic manner in the west end of Niagara Falls, where it was involved in a failed-to-remain collision with another vehicle. Shortly thereafter, the 2 males attempted to sell the lawn equipment at a scrapyard, with employees there calling police. Officers responded to the area and observed the stolen vehicle on Beaver Dams Road. Upon the activation of the emergency equipment, the vehicle turned onto Beechwood Road and almost immediately lost control, striking a tree. The occupants of the vehicle were injured, with one male being airlifted from the scene in an apparent critical condition due to unknown injuries and apparent acute drug intoxication. As a result, the SIU was notified and attended to investigate. In his closure letter, Director Leparco advised the SIU investigation has concluded and there are no grounds for criminal charges against any officers. And there were no concerns that were expressed by the SIU in relation to the officers who responded to that incident. Just with respect to our annual homicide statistics, I can advise that during the reporting period of October 25th to November 22nd, we did not have any homicides in Niagara. So our year-to-date total, we are sitting at 2 homicides. In previous years, in 2017, we had 3. 2016, 1. 2015, we had 6. So we are continuing to trend favorably in that area. With regards to traffic fatalities and serious motor vehicle collision statistics, there were no fatal collisions in the region in the month of October, and there was 1 life-threatening motor vehicle collision. At this point in 2018, we are sitting at 14 fatal collisions for the year to the end of October. And we've had a total of 15 life-threatening collisions. Comparatively, in 2017, we had 18 fatal collisions. In 2016, we had 20 fatal collisions. So again, we're trending quite favorably in that area as well. And that's no doubt our traffic unit plays a big part in the enforcement and education efforts that they do. Just with regards to some items in the news, the Niagara Regional Police Service 5 District Detective Office investigated numerous residential break-and-enters in the town of Fort Erie, occurring in September through the month of October. The majority of these break-and-enters occurred in the north end of Fort Erie. Their investigation identified 2 suspects, and on October the 19th, 5 district detectives arrested 2 Fort Erie residents in relation to break-and-enters and possession of property obtained by crime. An incident in Niagara Falls, members of the Morality Unit conducted a drug trafficking investigation, and on October 25th, with the assistance of the Niagara Falls Street Crime Unit and our Tactical Unit, a man and woman were arrested in a parking lot in Niagara Falls. A search warrant was executed in their Niagara Falls residence, and as a result, we seized about 8 ounces of cocaine, 530 tablets of Xanax, traffic-related paraphernalia, scales, cellular devices, over $16,000 in cash, a Ruger 10-22 rifle with 2 high-capacity magazines and ammunition. A 23-year-old man is facing a total of 11 charges, and a 20-year-old female is facing a total of 7 charges. On the evening of Saturday, October 27th, the Niagara Regional Police Traffic Enforcement Unit conducted ride checkpoints in the city of St. Catharines and Niagara Falls. In the city of St. Catharines, 4 drivers were required to provide samples of their breath into an approved screening device. All 4 were found to be within the legal blood limits, alcohol blood limits. Of note, numerous vehicles entering the downtown area were being driven by designated drivers or were properly licensed taxi carrying fares. We certainly appreciate the responsible behavior of those members of the public wishing to enjoy a night of festivities without putting their fellow citizens at risk. Another driver in the city of Niagara Falls was charged under the Cannabis Act for driving a motor vehicle with cannabis readily available. And I just would want to remind everybody that as we enter the Christmas and holiday season, to take the opportunity to make responsible choices. And if you plan to be drinking or using drugs, please do not get behind the wheel and drive. We want your best driving, and we want everyone to arrive alive. Another item in the Niagara Falls, on the morning of October 28th, police were called to the area of the Niagara Hells Angels Clubhouse located at 7863 Garner Road in the city of Niagara Falls for reports of a suspicious male. An investigation by our two-district uniformed detectives led to the arrest of a male and subsequent seizure of a quantity of suspected oxycodone. Male was transported to hospital due to suspicion of being under the influence of an intoxicating substance. 24-year-old male who's a member of the Hells Angels West Toronto chapter, charged with mischief, possession of Schedule I substance for the purpose of trafficking, and assault. On October 22nd, multiple break-and-enters occurred within a 5-block radius in the village of Chippewa. The Niagara Falls Street Crime Unit commenced an investigation and identified a suspect. They would later locate the suspect and arrest him on October the 29th. A 39-year-old Niagara Falls male is facing a number of charges in relation to those incidents. On October 30th at approximately 1:50 a.m., we responded to local business in Port Colborne for a report of suspicious activity. Upon arrival, we were informed that a male was acting in a suspicious manner and as he attempted to make purchases with a debit card. Further investigation resulted in the arrest and charge of a 33-year-old Port Colborne male for various fraud-related offenses. Since August of 2018, members of our street crime unit and our guns, gangs, and grow unit entered into a joint investigation regarding the sale of illicit drugs from a residence in the area of Niagara Street and Church Street in St. Catharines. You'll recall that on September the 6th, 2018, we responded to a shooting incident that occurred at this location. And upon police arrival, it was discovered that 3 individuals were shot as a result of an altercation that occurred inside this apartment. Since the shooting, we have continued to investigate this residence for drug trafficking, and during that time have made numerous observations that were consistent with individuals who are operating a drug trafficking operation from inside that apartment. On October 31st, a search warrant was executed at the residence, and 4 males from Toronto were arrested inside without incident, and they've been charged accordingly. In total, we've seized 112 grams of cocaine, crack cocaine, 7.5 grams of fentanyl, 1.2 grams of crystal meth, which holds a street value of about $13,500, and seized approximately $1,800 in cash. On November the 12th, uniform officers from the 3 District in Welland responded to a serious single motor vehicle collision in Pelham. Investigation determined that a male driver was operating a white 2016 Ford Focus with 2 passengers in the area of Roland Road near Sulphur Springs Drive in the town of Pelham. The driver was unable to negotiate a curve, lost control, and entered a ditch, striking a tree. The vehicle burst into flames. The fire was extinguished by the Pelham Fire Services. The driver was able to exit the vehicle on his own. The 2 female passengers had to be rescued from the burning vehicle by a local resident and a passing motorist. The male driver and the 2 female passengers were all transported to local hospital by EMS. 1 female sustained critical injuries and was transported to an out-of-region trauma center. And the male driver of this vehicle was arrested and has been charged with impaired driving causing bodily harm. Just wanted to provide an update with regards to the horrific historical sexual assaults that have been occurring in Port Colborne. Investigators from our sexual assault unit and our child abuse unit, as well as our domestic violence unit, continue to actively investigate the circumstances surrounding an alleged neglect and abuse that took place in the town of Port Colborne over the last 20 years. As a result of the ongoing investigation, 2 additional arrests have now been made. And on Wednesday, November the 14th, police arrested 2 additional men in relation to the case, bringing the total number of arrested and charged to 8 individuals. As the investigation continues, more arrests are anticipated. I just want to highlight the tremendous work that is being done by our investigators in response to this really, really tragic and disturbing case. It's just goes without saying, they are going to uncover every rock in regards to this investigation. We appreciate all their work in regards to that horrific case. Since October 2018, members of the Street Crime Unit in St. Catharines and our Guns, Gangs, and Grow Unit conducted an investigation into a male from Toronto selling cocaine and fentanyl from various addresses within the city of St. Catharines. Over the course of several days, police surveillance observed this male to be involved in the suspected drug sales. And on November 15th, we were granted a search warrant for a Collier Street address and a motor vehicle. And we later arrested this male outside of the address. We located a loaded .45 caliber handgun along with crack cocaine, heroin that was laced with fentanyl, and a large quantity of currency that was believed to be the proceeds of drugs. The arrested male was found to be already bound by an indefinite firearms prohibition as a result of previous criminal convictions, arrested and charged as a 24-year-old Toronto area male. There's a bit of a theme here with regards to the Toronto connection. In total, police seized cocaine and heroin laced with fentanyl, all with an estimated street value of almost $3,000, as well almost $3,500 in currency was seized as proceeds of crime, along with the .45 caliber handgun and numerous rounds of ammunition. I just want to talk about some of the community engagement initiatives that we're involved in. As the chair alluded, on Monday, November the 19th, members of the Niagara Regional Police Service, our auxiliary unit, as well as members from the Police Services Board, participated in serving lunch at the Niagara Falls Community Outreach Soup Kitchen on St. Lawrence Avenue in Niagara Falls. There's a couple of photos that are up on the screen right now. In total, there were 12 of us that participated in serving lunch to approximately 125 members of the community. And we certainly want to thank Chris Watling for having us, and thank them for the tremendous work that they do. It's incredibly important work and much needed. They serve thousands of individuals each year, and we're really pleased that we were able to participate. It was a great time had by all, and I can tell you that every one of the individuals that we serve is incredibly appreciative of us being there. I do want to stress that this is only one of many such community engagement initiatives that our members get involved in on a regular basis. And whether it's the Out of the Cold program in St. Catharines, various food drives, toy drives, sponsoring families in need at Christmas, coaching minor sports, our members are incredibly proud and honored to give back to their community, and I'm very proud of them for what they do. And it's not for the recognition, but it's simply because they care about the communities that we live and work in. So just wanted a little plug for our members that do great work on that. And I also wanted to highlight the Christmas, the Chief's Christmas and Holiday Breakfast, which is taking place on Thursday, December 6th at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here in the community room. Members of the public, of course, our community partners, members of the service, and all board members are invited. Tickets are $10 and can be purchased at the door, with all proceeds going to support local families through community care. We're hoping to support 4 families this year as a result of the proceeds. That was our goal last year, and we surpassed that, and we're able to support 5 local families, and we're hoping that we can surpass our goal this year as well. It's a great event. Holy Cross High School Choir will be performing. Choir is really an understatement. They are a terrific band, if you will, and we look forward to that event on December the 6th. So, and those are the end of my comments. Thank you very much. Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Deb. Any comments for the chief? Okay, I have a few, Chief. I'll start on a high note and then wind up with low ones. The soup kitchen, it was such a diverse group of us that was there, from the chief to the auxiliaries to board members, and that I'm really proud of you stepping up for this, and no, I'm going to go there. We had some titles when we were there, and I know I had one too, so that'll come out too. So, Chief, do you wish to say what you were at that event?
I believe I was the salad guy.
And Deputy Chief Flynn, what were you at that event?
Well, thanks to your creativity, Chair, I became known as the Muffin Man.
And I guess in truth, I have to say I was the dirty man, and it's, because I was in charge of dishes or stuff like this. But all in all, I really appreciate. I didn't mean to bring you down with this, but just add some humor to this. That was a great event, and I thank you very much for all coming out. And the one thing I have to say, the diverse group of people that were coming in there to eat, and they were so well mannered, saying thank you for everything. It was an honor to serve these people. And Vice Chair Ganzel, if you have any comments, I'll defer to you. But I also. People that were handicapped. I saw a couple of people in business, as I said to you, Chief, that I thought were pretty prominent back in the 70s, and I didn't identify them. They didn't identify me. But, you know, I see they went a different route. I'm sure there was some mental health problems with people there and that, but we were so proud, and they were so polite. They knew exactly where to put their dishes, so obviously they were regulars on this. But I'm proud of the soup kitchen. I'm proud of us for helping out there, and I know that was said in the article. Vice Chair Ganzel, do you have any comments? Or
Just one. I mean, I have been a supporter of that organization for a number of years, and have come by and dropped off a check and some odd food over the years. Never participated in the actual serving of the meals in that. And I would echo the comments made by the chair. An enlightening experience, but I cannot overstate the feeling that these people were really appreciative of us and the fact that they were able to get a meal that day and then probably get it several days. And it was just, for me, it was a heartwarming experience to do that, and I was appreciative of having that opportunity, so thank you.
And one last comment on that, Chief. Back in the 70s when I was a police officer, and you know the people that were the chiefs and deputy chiefs at that time, they would never do that. And they would never mingle with the constables like you do, and that. So credit to all three of the senior command team for coming as a team on this type of thing. I know you treat everybody equally in that, but I'm proud of the rapport we had with everybody there, Ken and the whole group. So thank you for that. Now on disturbing notes, the 8 people charged with sexual assault in Port Colborne. That's very disturbing. Good job from the officers. Disturbing for Port Colborne. But is it an ongoing investigation still, or is it wrapped up?
The investigation is still ongoing.
Wow, that's disturbing on that. So I hope the press puts that out there to the people in Port Colborne, that the fine job we're doing and the disturbing nature of what we just uncovered. And the last one is the opioids in Toronto and your comment there. Can you just give me an idea? And I believe the world is losing the battle with opioids, but what's your comments on this? And I don't know if you want to defer to on your deputy chiefs or whatever. Are we keeping pace, or is it going down? I know I'll have that at public health as well. I know that we had about 116 deaths in the Niagara region. Was it last year, Dave? Or on it, and it was brought up. What's your opinions on this? Are we making some inroads on this?
I'll turn it over to Deputy Flynn. I mean, the reality is that this is a crisis that is occurring right across North America, and as Deputy Forty pointed out, I believe the statistics are that there are 11 people a day that are dying in Canada as a result of opioid overdose. So it's a crisis. We are working very closely with our partners to address the issue, and I'll let Deputy Flynn top off our efforts to address it.
Thank you, Chief, and through you, Chair. I think the reality of drug work is that if I had another 40 members that I could throw at drug work right now and doing that specifically as their #1 job, that we would still find more work than we could handle. I think we have to be very specific in what our goals are when we're working either in the street crime units or morality or the guns, gangs, and grows area to make sure that we're making the most impact with the limited number of people we have. The Chief had mentioned in his comments that we have seen a number of people from outside of Niagara region. It has become I mean, it was there when I was working in that area 15 years ago, but I think it certainly highlights why we need to have good relationships with Hamilton and Halton and Toronto and all of our partners around the Horseshoe, because, I mean, we're really the only ones that are limited by geographical boundaries, so we have to make sure that we're on top of things and sharing information across the province and across the Golden Horseshoe.
So thank you for that, and I asked the question pretty well knowing the answer, but I wanted to get it out there so there's more publicity on it, because even you said you watched the 60 Minutes episode, and I don't know if anybody here watched it from Sunday night, where they showed Knox alone and bringing people back to life, and how bad it is in Salt Lake City was that example of it, and it just is going to be keep on overtaking us. And every service in North America, probably the world, says nobody can afford to handle this the way it is. So it's education, it's not arrests that solve it. So and I remember you making the comment, we can't arrest our way out of this. So, okay, thank you for that. No other questions for the chief on his comments? Okay, we'll move on. We have a presentation here from Canada Post. If Warren Cochran and anyone else that is coming up with you, Warren, please come to the podium and I'll describe what it's about. It's an emergency responders postage stamp presentation from Warren Cochran, who's the zone manager for Canada Post, regarding the recent proclamation by Canada Post that designated the week of September 10th to September 14th as Emergency Responders Week by unveiling 5 commemorative stamps to honor the country's professional volunteer and civilian military emergency responders in the paramedics, Canadian Armed Forces, search and rescue, firefighting, and policing fields, and bestowing the Niagara Regional Police Service with a commemorative Canadian Police Services stamp in recognition of the civilian and sworn members who contribute to keep Canadians and communities safe with compassion, integrity, and professionalism. Warren, push the button on there for the light to come on for that, please, and please describe what you want. And Chief, I'm going to ask you to go up and accept that if you don't mind, please, when it's time.
Okay. Yeah, on behalf of Canada Post, and I'm the local Niagara region manager, we just wanted to come down to the front level to you folks and thank you for the ongoing, past and ongoing support that you provide on a daily basis to all of our employees. So on behalf of Canada Post locally, thank you very much. Yeah. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And Warren, you have more of a crowd here. Do you want to identify them, or are they with you?
Yes, they are.
Please.
Gino Pasquarelli, he is our actual LJOSH co-chair representative, employee representative. Andrea Wright, our team lead out of St. Catharines. Sue Monroe, team lead out of St. Catharines. And my business partner, as we call him, who is in layman's terms, safety officer, Darcy Furness, who we work very closely together and on the front lines with our people.
Well, I thank you very much for this. Ken's going to come up and take a picture. Ken's our well-paid photographer. If you don't mind, in front of the flags. Do any of you others that he just identified like to come up and say anything? I want you to come up here for the picture, if you don't mind. And
Chair, if I could just say I really appreciate the gesture on behalf of Canada Post. The men and women of the Niagara Regional Police Service do what they do, not because of any recognition, but simply because they want to make a difference in our community, and we truly appreciate the gesture this morning. Thank you.
And Chief, we're going to stay out of this picture. This is yours. Thank you. Hey. Bill. She's doing the one that's being emailed out to you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting here with this procedure. Thank you. Nice meeting you. Thanks a lot. If you want to leave now, or if you want to stay, you're more than welcome. You want to stay? That's it. Thank you. Thank you. So I need a mover and a seconder on accepting that, please. Member Ganzel, Member Stewart. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on, we have the consent agenda items, items number 196 to 203. I'd like to move in block. Can I have a mover and seconder for this? Member Bonham, seconded by Member Barrick. Who wants to lead on these ones? I know, Ken, you have Post-its, but anybody want to get in there before him? Member Ganzel, you're up. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And for you, Chair, this is item number 196, and it's more of a comment. There's an amount of money that was paid to a constable on our service, went to Mongolia for powerlifting, and he won silver. And I was wondering whether the chief or one of the deputies would like to comment. I think that is an excellent opportunity that one of our officers had to go to that country and participate in that event. And I think he needs to be congratulated for coming in with a silver medal.
Now, Chief, he was here prior.
Right.
But we'd like to see him come back if you wish to do that, or else you can just expand on it.
And show us the silver medal.
I thank you for that, Member Ganzel. Sergeant Magistrelli, Steve Magistrelli, actually will be transferring in to be one of the deputy chief's executive officers as of January 1st. This is obviously something that's near and dear to him, and he's participated in this event for years. We can arrange for him to perhaps come for the December 13th meeting, and he can show the medal personally, and he can describe the experience to you if you like.
If that doesn't interrupt your operations, please do. Go ahead.
I think that would be excellent. Again, that was quite the undertaking, and I know he's been involved in it for probably over 15 years, and he should be congratulated for that. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions on number 196? Go ahead, Ken.
Moving on to items 199. This is the supervision bylaw. Report back to the board. Just basically one or two things that I have a question about. It's on page number 3. And I'm just wondering whether this document hasn't been updated. It talks about the release of prisoners, and it puts in brackets St. Catharines only. I'm assuming that should really read now Niagara Falls because we have a central lockup.
Yeah, that's a good catch. That should be Niagara Falls. Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that.
Okay, and one last one on page number 4. This is about the duty inspectors. It's in that paragraph, which is bolded by duty inspector. Talks about this officer provides final level of senior management supervision during a night shift. They're also providing that on weekends, correct? Throughout the day?
Throughout the day, on weekends, and at nighttime, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any other comments or questions on that? Anything else, Member Ganzel?
Just, yes, sorry. 200 is still part of the consent component, right? Yes. This one deals with accessibility. I remember for years there was always an issue at 68 Church Street regarding the front steps, and we had made a handicap access and buzzer at the, I'll refer to it as basically the rear door facing the parking lot. I'm assuming that, I know St. Catharines is not used as a headquarters as it once was many years ago, but the accessibility, are we able to accommodate people with accessibility needs at 68 Church Street through that rear door, and are we responsive to the doorbell back there and everything else? I'm just make sure there's been no restrictions on people with accessibility issues being able to get access to us.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. We do have access for individuals who require a handicap or sorry, a wheelchair access to the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions on that? Okay, Member Bonham?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you, 197, which is the overtime activities incurred by the NRPS quarterly report. Noting on page number 2, with regard to civilian overtime, the comment is that the overtime quarter to quarter is up 24.8%, And the ascribed cause of that is prime vacation time. That's understood. My concern is that on the year-to-date basis, year-to-date 2017 versus 2018, we're up 37%. Have we got some ascribable causes for that we can work towards hopefully bringing down? In fact, the number year-to-date in 2018 is the highest it's been since 2016 in any of the last 5 years. So I'm just wondering if we got some handle on what's causing this year to be so high, and what we could be doing to focus on bringing it back to hopefully 2017, 15, and 14 type levels.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the overtime that's referenced with regards to the civilians, members of the service, is primarily as a result of overtime that was incurred in our records unit, our communications unit, and our central holding area. So within our communications unit, we have undertaking a review of our current practices. We've hired a consultant, and there will be some recommendations that will likely come forward to the board in the new year as a result of that work. And there's also a review being done right now that's being undertaken by Deputy Forty with regards to a Kaizen process, continuous improvement within our central holding model. Right now, the model is quite reliant upon overtime to backfill vacancies, and we're looking at ways that we can streamline processes there that would have less of an impact on overtime.
Are these issues ones that just occurred in this last year? I mean, my point is that 2018 year-to-date is significantly different than 2017. Do we have a handle on what the drivers would be specifically, or it's under further analysis?
So what I can say is that we have experienced some sick time, some occupational stress injuries that are having an impact, and we're looking at ways to reduce that as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other comments on that 197? Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. 201, which is policing Aboriginal occupations and protests, excuse me. Not specifically with regard to this document here, but I'm reading in the paper sort of with some frequency and with some local concerns coming from the Aboriginal community with regard to them being stopped entering and leaving the property, and that providing occasion for protesters concerned about their rights to conduct the hunt, lending itself to what they're claiming to be verbal abuse. And the call, as I understand it in the paper, was for the police to do something about it. I'm just wondering if I'm certain you've heard the same concerns, if it's been written up in the press. I'm certain you people have been brought to the party. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are, and if you're able to discuss at all what you would propose to do to resolve the concerns of the native hunters. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for that. I know that Inspector Sawicki did an interview on 610 CKTB earlier. Sorry, it wasn't this week. It was last week that he did an interview, and he talked about the challenges that we face there. And I do want to reinforce that the harvest itself. We are not the lead agency on that. We play a very minor role in the whole annual deer harvest. That's the MNR and the OPP that have jurisdiction in the park. Our role specifically is to be there to keep the peace and to allow the safe access for the harvesters to the park, but also, walking a fine line, if you will, recognizing that the deer harvesters have a treaty right to hunt in the park, but also recognizing that protesters have a right to protest under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So we work very, very closely with the Haudenosaunee people, and that's really a tribute to our sergeants who are on the ground there. We assign a sergeant for the duration of the harvest, so there's continuity there on the ground. And I can tell you that they have a very strong relationship with the Haudenosaunee people, and any concerns that they bring forward we address.
Thank you.
Any comments or questions on that item? I have comments on it, please. So that was the one I wanted to talk about, Chief. Are the deer hunts done for this year? There's another one?
I believe there's one more weekend.
And has there been any incidents? I've been away, so
There have not been any incidents to date.
Okay, so taking it one step further, Chief, you were kind enough to have a seminar here with Rick McLean for the Indigenous a year ago or whatever we did, and we had it at the region as well. And it was very informative for all of us, showing the rights that they have and the compromises that we must make for them as a result of the treaties and that. I'm going to bring it up at Regional Council to have another seminar there, and I'd like them to have it I'd like to have it every year, but at least for all the new council members and staff and that there. Is there any interest, you have the same crowd here that would be going to it. Is there any interest in us having one here again? Chief, I'm not trying to put you on the spot now, but...
No, absolutely, and I think it's fair to say that all of us were very enlightened by that training that took place by Rick McLean. And we would welcome the opportunity to participate in that again, get some additional members to that training. I do want to stress as well that we have 2 Aboriginal liaison officers within the service who work very closely with our Aboriginal communities throughout the Niagara region. And so if there are any emerging issues that are occurring with that community, we have those people in place that can connect and relay information. It's two-way communication, and it works really well for us.
So that seminar that we had here, that you had, showed me that they had the right to do all these things, and they are nice enough to cooperate with us on these things with the rights as assigned by the treaties of a couple hundred years ago. So I'll be bringing that up at the region. I'll be talking to you in the meantime if we want to piggyback on it, or have you have one and we have one there, but I think it helps us all on this type of stuff. Any other comments or questions on that? Member Stewart.
Thank you, Chair, and not through you, but to you. I unfortunately was out of the country when we had that seminar here, and I'm just looking to say that perhaps come the new year, there'll be some new board members and all that stuff, that might be an appropriate time to do that, because I would certainly be there as long as I'm not out of the country again.
Yeah, and even if we had 5 people, it's worth it on that. We filled this room. Terry, you were there for that too, weren't you? Yeah. So it was enlightening to all of us, and at the region we had less people there for it, but you know, this is something that we should all go to. Any other items here on the consent agenda that anybody wants to bring up? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're into new business. Item number 204, Ontario Police Video Training Alliance, the business plan. Can I have a mover and seconder on this, please? Member Bonham, Member Stewart. Comments or question on this? Member Ganzel, I'm sure you'll have. No. Okay. Oh, no, I get that. I thought you might have some questions. Any other questions from anybody here? All those in favor? Carried. Item number 205, the NRPS Capital Projects Closeout Report. Mover and seconder on this, please. Member Bonham, Member Barrick. Comments or questions on this one? I see none. All those in favor? Carried. We have a couple special fund requests here. There's only 2, so I'll move them individually. Item number 206, special fund requests out of the cold dinner program. A mover and seconder on this, please. Member Ganzel, Member McKendrick. Any comments on this? All those in favor? Carried. And then 207, special fund request International Police Hockey Tournament. Mover and seconder on this. Member Bonham, Member Stewart. Any comments on this one? All those in favor? Carried. We have a supplemental agenda, a couple of items. Item number 208, if you want to pull it out, if you have it there. This is the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services RIDE program grant. And every year, and Vaughn, you know this better than me, and Ken, you do, they come with like a week's notice on getting this approved, and we have to get it approved. At least it made the board this year. Usually we email it out for a vote, don't we? The ride one, yeah. And I guess the government will never change. It's the same thing every year, but it's always at the last minute. So item number 208, mover and seconder, please. Member Barrick, Member Stewart, comments on this one? All those in favor? Carried. Item number 209, the NRPS financial variance overview and year-end forecast. Mover and seconder on this one. Member Stewart, Member McKendrick, comments on this? It's pretty smooth. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the in-camera report, item number C-197, Police Services Board bylaw, I guess going public. Mover and seconder on this one, please. Member Bond, Member McKendrick. This is just going public. All those in favor? A question by Member Ganzel.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question on this. One thing that we approved very early in 2018 was a service called Driving Miss Daisy, and I'm not sure where that fitted in because it wasn't really a TNC. But I know we approved it because they came here, did a presentation. And I look at the class on page 46 where it lists all the different licensing in that. Where did that fit in? I don't think we created a special category for it. So was it just basically a specialty driver? Does anyone recall where that fitted into the list? I don't want.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I believe you are correct. It was a specialty vehicle license. That's the classification, but I could certainly confirm that and email that out to you.
I just wanted to make sure they weren't left out of this.
No,
okay.
I believe they are operating fully
yes.
licensed in the region.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor of that? Carried. Member Ganzel, did you have any more new business? Yes, no. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And just a couple of items here. You know, you sit at the board here, and we have an opportunity to look out in the members of the service, and I've been informed today that Sergeant Henderson is moving on to specifically looking after patrolling Niagara Lake. But thank you. But I would be very amiss not to thank her and the members of the Bill Forty's folks and Akram and that in the 911 center and communications and getting basically this building up and running and assisting with the move with Superintendent Frayne, who I thought I saw earlier today. I think credit to the number of years as part of executive services and getting this organization, so I'd be amiss not to thank her. I mean, she's not leaving the service. She's continuing on in a role on our streets, which I think is very important. And I would also like to acknowledge that Superintendent White is back in the audience in the second row there. And I'm glad to see that and support her efforts in running the operations on the service on behalf of the deputy. And Dr. Divers, who is going for remedial bicycle training, I understand, has returned to the third row. And again, I'm glad to see that some of our folks that had some injuries over the past couple of months are back in service. So again, I think that's important. And I also would be amiss not to thank Inspector McCaffrey and Constable Matt, and I can never pronounce his last name, Malinchowski? Yeah, well, they may be here. They may be here for the next meeting. For attending the Niagara Lake Community Safety Committee meeting last Monday. Very much appreciated, and we are proceeding with a Lock It and Lose It program in early December, again with the support of the service, which again, for the chief and your folks, shows great support to the community, not only in Niagara Lake, but across the region. So again, thank you for providing Inspector McCaffrey and his people to our Niagara Lake initiative. So thank you.
Thank you for that. I'll make sure that gets passed along to Inspector McCaffrey. Thank you very much.
So I had just turned to Deb and said, should I thank these people? And she said that they'll be here on December 13th. So I just, but no problem there. And I also was going to identify Dr. Divers for being here, but I guess you've been here for a couple of meetings, have you? I've just missed you, so welcome back. and Cindy. So thank you for doing that, Ken. Appreciate it. Any other new business from that? You had another item, did you not? Okay, very good. Any other new business from anyone? Okay, we're going to move into confidential. We have a license hearing meeting at 10 o'clock that's in confidential, but I think we can achieve a lot of our confidentials right now as soon as the people shut down. So thank you very much.